Today is the second day where we consider the life of Jesus Christ, and here we will consider the place of Jesus in history. While critics of Christianity may not accept the testimony of early Christians, there is no denying that within 100 years of Jesus' life, his followers were writing about him and telling others about his life, death, and resurrection. First, let us consider what some people who lived in the first and second centuries thought of Jesus. For example, the apostles such as Matthew, John, and Peter had experience living with Jesus. Others reported what they had heard directly from those who had met Jesus personally. They all testified to Jesus' life as a teacher, the miracles that he had performed, his death under Pontius Pilate by crucifixion, and their belief that Jesus rose again from the dead. Take, for instance, St. Paul. He did not meet Jesus in person, but after Jesus' resurrection, he had a supernatural and a visionary encounter with Jesus. And Paul's letters to various churches clearly indicate that for him, Jesus was a real person, a Jew, born of a woman, had disciples, was crucified, and later resurrected from the dead. Then consider Clement of Alexandria. Clement was a first century leader of the church at Rome after the time of the apostles. He addressed a letter to the Corinthians. In it he speaks of the teachings of Jesus, his death, and his resurrection from the dead. Then Ignatius of Antioch. He was a second century bishop of Antioch who wrote a series of letters. In his letter addressed to the early Christians in Smyrna, he claims that Jesus suffered and was crucified under Pontius Pilate, and on the third day he truly rose again. Then Polycarp, who was a Christian bishop of Smyrna, in writing to the Philippians, affirmed that Jesus lived and died and was resurrected. Polycarp was said to have been taught directly by the original apostles. Let us now consider what some people who lived in the recent past thought and wrote about Jesus. H.G. Wells, the English writer and historian, was an atheist, but he wrote, "I am a historian, I am not a believer, but I must confess as a historian that this penniless preacher from Nazareth is irrevocably the very center of history. Jesus Christ is easily the most dominant figure in all history." Also, someone asked H.G. Wells, who has left the greatest legacy on history? His reply was, "By this test, Jesus stands first." The American historian Kenneth Scott Latourette wrote, "As the centuries pass, the evidence is accumulating that measured by his effect on history, Jesus is the most influential life that ever lived on this planet." Bernard Shaw, the Irish playwright, was an agnostic. He wrote, "I am no more a Christian than you are, dear reader. Yet, like Pilate, I prefer Jesus to Caiaphas, and I am ready to admit that after contemplating the world and human nature for more than 60 years, I see no way out of the world's misery but the way of Christ." Leo Tolstoy, the Russian writer, said, "For 35 years of my life, I was in the proper acceptance of the word nihilist, a man who believed in nothing. 5 years ago, my faith came to me. I believed in the doctrine of Jesus Christ, and my whole life underwent a sudden transformation. Life and death ceased to be evil. Instead of despair, I tasted joy and happiness that death could not take away." An unknown author wrote in the 19th century, quote, "19 wide centuries have come and gone, and today Jesus is the centerpiece of the human race and the leader of the column of progress. I am within the mark when I say that all the armies that ever marched, and all the navies that were ever built, and all the parliaments that ever sat, and all the kings that ever reigned, put together, have not affected the life of man upon this earth as powerfully as has that one solitary life." Unquote. In the next meditation, we will consider the place of Jesus among other religious teachers. May God bless you. Amen.